Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being with us today in another of our events from Education USA. We are very pleased to have you with us. I just want to remind you some stuff about our sessions. Remember to please remain muted with your video and microphone off. If you have any questions, please type them on the chat and we will answer them at the end of the session. This session will be recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, Education USA Mexico, for further reference. And there's English closed captioning is available in case you want to use it, okay? So today we are going to be covering a very interesting topic. It's entrepreneurship and innovation. It's a roundtable. We have two very special guests today. But first, please let me talk very briefly about what is Education USA for those of you joining us for the first time, okay? So Education USA is a global network of advising centers from the US Department of State. There's 56 advising centers in the region, from Canada to the North America, the Caribbean, and Central America. And we provide introductory information on US studies. Our main target are students, higher education institutions, government, and NGOs. And we provide accurate, comprehensive, and current information about the full range of accredited US HEIs. So I want to welcome our guest speakers for today's panel. I'm going to start with Christian Oliva. Christian has a PhD and a master's degree in statistics from Colorado State University, and a bachelor's degree in mathematics from the Universidad Autónoma de Yucatán. He was part of the Mexican delegation in the International Mathematics Olympics held in Vietnam, where he won a bronze medal for Mexico. In addition to his interest in mathematics, Christian has held student representative positions in the student government and for the Latin American students and scholar organizations of CSU. Since 2018, Christian has been working as a biostatistician in the product development department and Genetech Roche located in the Silicon Valley area. Welcome, Christian. And then we have Andrea Hernandez. Andrea Hernandez earned her Master's of Science in Innovation and Venture Development at Arizona State University, and currently is working as a program coordinator at Barrett Honors College. She had participated in multiple international events representing Mexico and is very active in the philanthropic and business community in the state of Arizona. She is happy to help the new generations to follow their dream, to study abroad and be agents of change. Welcome, Andrea. Thank you very much for being with us. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen so we can see our panelists. And I'm gonna give the floor to my colleague, Jorge Reyes and Jenny Diaz.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jorge Reyes. I am the Education USA advisor for Oaxaca, Guerrero, and Veracruz in Mexico. And with my peer, Jenny Diaz, we wanna be conducting the questions for Andrea and for Christian. And the first one, sorry about that. Andrea, Christian, thank you for being here today with us. I get you are able to unmute yourself, right? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Jorge.
Okay, so the first question goes for Andrea. So, Andrea, what is a program in innovation and why did you decide to study this program in the United States?
First of all, I want to thank you for having me. I think that this is a great opportunity to explain a little bit about the master's and why it's important for me. So basically, a master in innovation can be in many fields. Innovation is something that it's a word that defines something that has never been seen, or is a way to solve a problem in a different way. So I think that is very important for us to be innovative, because these generations, more than ever before, need to innovate in order to be successful in business or in any other area of knowledge. I think that I studied my master at ASU mainly because it's the #1 in innovation, which is great. I think that I was also looking for masters that was not like the typical master's degree when you go to class and you have the traditional classes with a professor and a board and a whiteboard, and that's it. Now, actually, my master's was very creative. We have labs where we interact directly with the business owners and with other specialists in the business area, which was great. And I think in that way, my perspective about the business in the United States and the rest of the world was a little bit more, what can I say, like more, instead of being the more like just in the knowledge, more in the practice. And I think that that's amazing. And I think that the United States is one of the best countries to do this. Just because I think that part of the successful of the country and the economy is because of these innovators that find new solutions and that just not focus in the service or the product, but in what they can add to them.
Okay, great. We wanted to start with the definition of innovation through your perspective, because sometimes we tend to, I don't know, get confused with the term, but thank you very much, Andrea, for that. Jenny.
Sure. Thank you, Jorge and Andrea. I think it's great what you're mentioning about not only learning on a classroom, also practicing what you're learning, right? So I think that that's awesome in a program of innovation. And then, Christian, I would like to know if you had a similar experience when you decided to study statistics. Sorry, I have a hard time with that word. Since I met you, I have a hard time with that word. So why did you decide to study statistics in the United States? And how did this program align with entrepreneurship professional paths as well?
Hi, Jenny. Thank you for the question. Yeah, I always have a hard time saying statistics, and I even had a harder time saying that I'm a statistician. So, going to the question, I guess first of all, why did I decide to study statistics? I think it's because, as you mentioned in the introduction, I am a mathematician. And I found statistics to be one way of applying mathematics. So, I mean, applying it to real problems. And that's something I really like. That's something I discovered as I was doing my undergrad in Mexico, that I really wanted to help society doing what I love, which is math. And I found statistics to be the best way of applying this to the real world. But now, why in the United States? Where when I was looking for programs, I actually was looking originally to do something in Mexico. And more particularly, I was looking for programs in Yucatan, because I am from Yucatan. Unfortunately, back then, there weren't any programs in statistics. There were like a one-year specialty that you can do, but no masters or PhDs on the area. So when I saw that, I started looking at other universities, and back then I had because of an exchange leadership program that I participated in when I was an undergrad student. I had the chance to get to know Colorado State University, where I actually studied my master and then my PhD. So because of that is that I got interested in particular in Colorado State University. And the reason I decided to do statistics in that specific place is because when I visited the university, I mean, in addition to showing me the programs and all the different opportunities of things you can do as a student, as a grad student in this case, they also showed me what they call a statistics laboratory. So for me, it was like interesting, like, what is that? Like, what are you doing in there, right? So what they showed me is that they basically have this laboratory inside the statistics department where they provide consultancy to other departments within the university, but even to external organizations outside the university. And basically they provide all types of statistical support. So when I learned about that specific place, I was like completely amazed. And it was like, this is the place where I want to be, because I wanted to have that experience of working with real world cases while being a grad student. I'm not waiting to be already like a professional to start working on that. So I will say that was one of the main reasons why I did statistics in the US. Yeah, is there like a second part of the question, Jenny? Or?
No, Christian, I think you addressed correctly.
Okay.
And thank you so much for sharing your experience about why statistics. Well, I think if you could share a little bit more about how would you relate statistics with entrepreneurship professional paths? Like, do you think that aligns with entrepreneurship for someone, statistics for someone who wants to do that as a career?
Yeah. So I guess actually here I have like a little bit of a question for you guys. Because when we hear the word entrepreneurship, we usually think about business entrepreneurship, right? Like creating a product and selling the product. And honestly, for me, a lot of things can be entrepreneurship. Like even if you decide to go and study like a grad program, you are doing entrepreneurship yourself, like personal non-business entrepreneurship. So I'm guessing that here you're trying to see like how this is bringing innovation, like how statistics is bringing innovation to the society. Is that more or less the question you have here? Okay, I will take that as a yes. Okay, so in that case, so statistics these days, or some people will say a more general topic or a more general field, which is the field of data science, is a field that is being used across so many fields in like like biotech, tech, in health sciences, in animals, in society. Like there are like so many fields that these days are using statistics, and they are basically trying to use statistics, trying to use data science experts to give or to give a voice to the data that we're analyzing, right? It's like every day new data is being generated. And when I say new data, it's not like only like new data maybe from new people or from new programs or things like that, but even new types of data. Like for instance, just in the past, I would say like maybe 10, 15 years, we have been working a lot with data from genomics or data that is big data. And when you think about it, we need to create or build new tools that allow us to take that data and say something about it, like have some interpretation of that and have some meaning of that. When you think about it, that is definitely bringing innovation to whatever field you're trying to use. So I will say statistics is like a natural way of doing innovation in anything you do. Even trying to connect different fields to new methodologies, even doing that is something new. As long as we can bring value to the data we are collecting, I think we're bringing innovation to society.
Yes, that's exactly what we were looking for when you started your conversation with. Like entrepreneurship is in every way possible. It's not only like we think that it's only one way that we can see it. I'm sorry for the delayed answer, Christian. I have a little delay with the internet. So when I say yes, exactly, you were like, well, I would assume that yes. And that's what I was saying, but the internet doesn't help sometimes. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's exactly what we want to share with our audience today, right? Like entrepreneurship is not only what we always have thought of. You are working, and we'll go there in a little bit, but you are working in an area with a lot of entrepreneurship, and you didn't study that as your master's or PhD program. You're in statistics, already doing entrepreneurship by what you studied, right? So with that, I'm gonna go to the next question. George, would you like to take it from here?
Yes, sure. And the next question goes for Andrea. Considering your experience working and studying in the United States, what are some of the innovative academic programs that enhance entrepreneurship skills? That's a hard word for me too, entrepreneurship.
Okay, I think that it will depend. There are many programs that you can access in the United States that are great. I think that one of the most important things that you have to take in account when you are applying and when you are deciding which kind of master's or PhD program you want to study is that you can see the opportunities that the university has beyond the classroom, like which kind of I don't know, like labs they have, or which kind of internships opportunities they have, or like just anything that is out of the classroom. I think that that's a great opportunity. I want to talk a little about my experience. I want to talk because I think that is very important to give you an example of this. So when I came first to the US, I had the opportunity to participate in a very innovative program called the Global Future Research Accelerator. And I had the opportunity to work with professors and researchers that wanted to apply to big grants to create like projects that actually can innovate and make an impact in the world. So when I started to work with them, I realized that many of the researchers and faculty and doctors are very, very intelligent, and they have a lot of knowledge, and they probably think of solutions that can help not only the US, but the rest of the world. But I realized that something that they didn't have and we provide them during this accelerator was that they made a lot of assumptions that a certain product or a certain idea will work. And they had everything planned to develop this idea from from today to the next 5 or 10 years. So they make all this work, and at the end, when they were working on the project, they realized that anything was working, or probably the people were not as interested in the project as they thought, or maybe the idea was not helping the community. So at the end, what I realized on that job and also during my classes is that in order to be innovative, you have to listen the people around you and the necessities of the people that you are helping with your idea. Or in the case of business, the people, your clients, what does your clients needs? And you can make assumptions, yes, but you need to test those assumptions in a small scale. I think that most of us as entrepreneurs or innovators, I think that we fail in that, in make a small test in order to create big projects. And I think that if you can see the history of the most successful entrepreneurs, I think that they create this. So I think that it's great that if you are starting a master's and you are looking to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, or a successful researcher later on, you need to arrive to a university that allows you to test in a small, in a small scale. That allows you to go outside of the classroom and test your idea, not just put it on paper. So I think that that's the most important part.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrea. Jenny.
Yeah, and I think what you say, by testing what you are, the projects that you are working, also like asking, I hear that you're saying like asking each other, right? Like there are a lot of people working and trying to do innovative ideas, and what you say, like asking the people what they need before you go and try to fix something that you don't know, right? So with this leads me to my next question to you, Christian, and I know you work in Silicon Valley based on what we hear in your bio. So what are some of the most demanded programs you see while working in Silicon Valley? What are those professionals who are helping each other?
I think that there is a very like natural answer to that, Jenny. Due to the type of companies that are in the area, so most of them are tech companies. So tech, I mean, like information technology companies. We have financial tech companies, we have biotech companies, like a lot of things related to tech. I will say the most demanded programs I see, at least from my side, are programs in software engineering, programs in computer science, data science program, statistics programs, and everything that is like related to that. Like any combination you can find. I will say those are some of the most demanded programs, and that is due to the nature of the jobs that you can find in here. I mean, there are definitely other jobs as well, but I will say the majority of them is like when I go out and I just hang out with friends or meet new people, I am pretty sure that they're going to be doing something related to computer science. So that's the case here.
Thank you, Christian. And I think something to highlight there is that those programs, like specifically Andrea studied a program that includes the word innovation on it, but there are also other programs working on innovation that doesn't have that work on the title of that program, right? So by asking you this question is what we want to see, like even if they are software or they are working in whatever, they are still working in innovation, and it's similar to what Andrea studied as well. So George, go for it.
Yeah, just I guess adding to what Jenny said, it might depend on the focus that you want to direct your research or your future career, right? Because I mean, you can study whatever, but at the end, the mere course of the program might shift your focus, right? So yeah, so that's another comment. And this question goes for both of you. And the question is how your international experience is important for your current professional and personal development. And I will start with Andrea.
This is a great question. I think that is extremely important to have an international view of the things when you are developing a project or you are creating something new and innovative. I can say that, at least in my perspective, working with other people in this globalized world is very important, because you will always work with a person that is probably from another continent, and you have to know how to speak with them. And I think that Mexicans and people from Latin America in general tend to do this great because we are very friendly. But I think that at the same time, we also face something that that is very important, that we need to be extremely responsible on what we do and all the projects that we launch and deliver something of quality. Because I think that when you are showing your work in an international environment, you are of course competing with people that are very capable and that have extremely good abilities and knowledge. And we need to go a step ahead and try our best to be the best. And I think that that's something that I had faced working here and studying here. In my classroom, for instance, most of the students were internationals. I think that were like 5 students from the United States, and the others were from countries as far as Nepal, to other like from the African continent, Australians. So it was great to see this diversity of ideas. And I think that it's always good to listen back and try to improve with their knowledge and with their experience, because I think that at the end, we also have to give something back to them. We have to share them our culture, what we are doing. And I think that currently in my job as a program coordinator at Barrett Honors College, I'm facing that. I'm developing right now some projects for the Latino community and the Hispanic community here at the university. And I think that being Mexican and have this perspective is allowing me to create great events and great projects here. So I think that it's amazing. And I think that something that is very important is to be proud of your culture, no matter which country are you from. we always proud of where you come from and give something back to your community as well. I think that Christian already said that it's very important to remember your community and try to help, because at the end of the day, only making these connections from your connationals is the way to grow up as a whole.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Christian.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Andrea said at the beginning of her response. I think one of the most important things that I value from my international experience was the fact that I learned a lot, and I continue learning a lot about diversity. I think diversity is a topic that we can all hear these days from like anywhere, and I don't think I need to convince you on how important that is. But I feel that when I had the chance to go to the US and study there is when I really had the opportunity to like work with others, collaborate with others. And when you do that, you learn like several things. One of the things I learned is you learn empathy. You learn to be more empathic with other people. You learn also that the way you do things doesn't have to be the only way. You know, it's like sometimes when you're talking to other people and they tell you about things they do in other places, then you start actually questioning yourself and you say like, well, what they are doing also makes sense, right? Or sometimes even you say like, then what I am doing this, right? It's like I have this like kind of funny story that at some point I had a roommate and he was from Korea. So I do remember one day he saw me like grabbing some food and I think that it was like some kind of Mexican food, obviously. So I was having like, you know, some corn with some tortillas and things like that. So I do remember he looked at my plate and he told me like, hey, Christian, that is not a very balanced like plate, right? Because he was looking at a lot of corn and he was like, why are you adding corn to the corn? And it was like, right? I don't know. It's like, so I'm not saying that it's bad that we do that. It's also like part of the culture we have. I am just saying that sometimes you start questioning things, like even simple things like that, when you actually learn about other cultures. So I will say that is something that is very, very important. And yeah, and you know, the other thing that was also interesting for me, especially because of the field I work, is, as I said, I'm a mathematician and mathematics is a universal language. So you will be surprised that it doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter if they are in China, in the UK, in India, in Costa Rica, it doesn't matter where they are. They all speak the same language and ideas are either going to be accepted or not. So while that is good because we can communicate with others in the mathematical language, that is sometimes also not good because sometimes you get close to one idea because these things are or they aren't, or that's kind of the idea in some of the let's say the mathematical theorems that we usually develop. But again, having that idea of diversity like helped me to broaden my scope, and that has been very valuable in my day-to-day work. I have to work with people, with collaborators like day-to-day, which are based on different parts. Like sometimes they are in Germany, sometimes they are in the UK, sometimes they are in China. So it doesn't matter where they are, we need to communicate and we need to understand each other. And the best way to do that is to make sure you have empathy with them. That way they are going to have empathy with you. And that way you're going to be able to collaborate like in a very good way.
And I guess that exposure will enrich your professional career, your professional profile, and everything. I mean, as a student, as a person, as whatever, right? And I could highlight two things from Andrea. You have to give back something, right? I mean, you have to give back something. And from Christian, you have to. It creates this empathy, right? Thank you very much. And I look forward to find out what were you eating. Like I mean current with current, but yeah, Jenny.
Yeah.
Thank you, George. And I love listening. I echo what you're saying and also love listening to both of your stories. You sound very proud of the work that you are doing, of the experiences that you have. And this is one of the goals of this conversation, right? To motivate more students, but not only Mexican, students who are in Nicaragua, who are in Costa Rica, who are in all these parts of all other countries, that this can it's achievable, right? So this would lead to my next question for you, Andrea. What previous professional experience candidates must have to pursue further education in academic programs that are focused on innovation or entrepreneurship?
Okay, that's a great question. I think that in my case, I think that, well, in my experience, I think that first you need to test, as I said at the beginning of this conversation, I think that an important part of innovation is to find something that you are passionate about. And that can take time. I think that what the students should know is that you need to find your passion, what you really like to do. In the case of Christian, he loves statistics. And I think that the reason of his success is because he loves statistics. He finds this field so interesting that he can innovate with that. And I think that it doesn't matter like the kind of master's or PhD program you are looking for. It has to be something that you really like. That it doesn't matter that it's not like the traditional masters like an MBA or I don't know, something related to medicine. There are many opportunities outside, but I think that the most important is to find the program that you really think that is going to be for you. In that way, you can innovate later on. In my case, because I love business and I love to create projects in nonprofits, and I also like politics. I think that for me, it had sense to study a master's in science of innovation and venture development, because I wanted to study more this part of the logistics and the process to create a business or create like a nonprofit organization. So that's the reason why I studied this. I think that before I applied, I definitely took my time to do things in my own country. I worked for many years in politics. I had my own nonprofit back in Mexico for leaders and students that wanted to create a business project. And I think that helped me a lot. I participate in international congresses representing my university. So it was not just one thing. I tried to do projects, but not because I wanted to pursue a master's degree later on in the US, but because I wanted to do these projects. And I thought that was a good way for me to give something back to my community. And I think that is going to happen to everybody here that wants to get a master's and actually succeed getting into the US and doing their master's. They need to be passionate about it, have no passion to create projects related to your fields and create things that are like innovative, and also participate in this kind of projects related of what your passion is. And I think that that's I think that that's the most important thing that you need to have in order to study a master's abroad. And yeah, I think that besides that, of course, you will need to face stress for the exams and the certifications. But I promise you that if you have passion for what you are doing, you are not going to feel those processes too hard to deal with.
Thank you, Andrea. And I love how you share how you look for experiences that will lead you to what you do now, right? While you were when you were a student, and that was those experiences of course were the ones that lead you to where you are right now. And so, George, we can continue with the next.
Yeah, and just continue this conversation regarding the academic formation. So Christian, in order to have an attractive profile for the current job market, what are the soft skills that students need to acquire? How do they acquire them? Maybe through the school, maybe through professors, maybe through, I don't know, what in your words and through your experience?
Yeah. Thank you, Jorge. That's a great question, and honestly, there is not like a short answer for that. I think also, or I would say, any soft skill you can build, do it. It doesn't matter which one. I cannot say just do these ones, don't do these others. All of them are going to be helpful. What I would say instead is, depending on what program you're studying, or actually a bit more than that, I would say, depending on what is the way you are, like your personality, your skills, the things you grew up with, try to acquire those that you don't have. Maybe because you didn't have enough exposure, maybe because you didn't practice them a lot, maybe because they are out of your comfort zone and you have been avoiding them. It's like, depending on what you feel you need, put it in there. So I am thinking, for instance, communication. Communication will be a soft skill that is very valuable anywhere you are. It's like, if you go to work for a company, if you go to work for a university, if you decide to have a relationship, you decide to get married, communication is going to be essential, right? But then it's like, how do you build that, right? How do you gain those communication skills? And unfortunately, this is not something that you learn in a classroom, right? It's not like someone is going to tell you what I'm saying now, like, hey, yeah, go practice your communication, and then you're going to be like, yeah, done, I'm done. You actually need to practice that, and you know, I think that the best way to do it is to actually get involved in activities that are going to teach you that. This can happen in several ways. Sometimes it can happen as you're practicing those things. Sometimes you don't even realize you're practicing those things, but you are doing them. Sometimes it also helps when you have like some kind of person that you admire, because that person is in a particular way, then you are like, oh my God, I would really like to learn to be like that person is in this specific topic, and maybe you can have some conversations with that person, and maybe you can learn more about that, and maybe you can get a bit more learning about how to do that. And here I would like to probably to put an example. I would like to mention my own experience when I was doing my undergrad in Mexico. So I do remember when I was doing my undergrad in Mexico, I was, of course, I mean, as most of the students are, I was concentrated on, let's say, the curriculum, right? It's like, what are the classes I'm going to be taking, homework, exams, things like that. And of course, that takes most of our time, right? It's like you don't have a lot of free time for doing other things. But I do remember that back then, the university in Yucatan, they were teaching, or not teaching, but telling us that we need to see the university as a buffet. Like, you go to a restaurant, you have a buffet, and you decide what you want to choose, right? So that means they have activities, they have like several activities other than whatever happens inside the classrooms. And then the question is, do you want to be part of them or not? They are not going to be mandatory in most of the cases, right? It's not like someone is going to ask you to do them. But if you decide to go and expose or have some experience by doing them, you're going to be gaining those skills. Like, for instance, if you decide to be part of, I don't know, the organizing the soccer tournament, and maybe you're going to be leading the soccer tournament, you're learning leadership skills. It's something very simple, but you're already like learning something like that. So that will be probably the best way of, I mean, now that we're talking about education and programs and students, that will probably be the best way of acquiring these soft skills. It's like, go outside what you need to pass your program or to get your your degree, and actually do those things that are going to give you more value or additional value. And I will definitely say that this is going to be a big value when you like enter the professional world, and now you have to use those skills. So I will stop there.
Okay, so be exposed, right?
Yes.
Be exposed to those chances and opportunities. Thank you very much, Christian. Yenny.
Christian, and I don't want to put you on a spot here, but since I was able to witness all of these activities that you joined while you were on your undergrad students, can you just mention a couple that you joined while you were an undergrad student for the audience to understand what you're talking about getting involved during your undergrad?
Okay, sure. So I can start with like for instance, when I was, as you mentioned in my bio, when I was a high school student, I used to participate in mathematical contests. So then when I joined the university to do my undergrad, I actually joined the team that organizes the contest, right? So that's one example. It's like now I was on the other side, part because of the experience that I had of being the student, being the actual athlete, let's say. Now being on the other side, that's one example. In addition to that, when I was in my second year, and I decided to join as a student counselor of my specific school, like the mathematics school, and then I became the president of one of the student federations or student organizations, I would say. So that was like definitely a big example for me, putting me out of my comfort zone. That was like completely out of my comfort zone. It was hard at the beginning. It was hard, but eventually, and even to this day, I can see a lot of value that specific opportunity gave me, because I was able to collaborate with people from other schools, which also meant, and actually not only people from other schools, but also leaders from other schools, that gave me like the opportunity to work with leaders, which is a very valuable experience that I still apply to these days. And yeah, I think other than that, I mean, when I became the president, I didn't have like a lot of time to involve in other stuff. But I always like involving in stuff, even to this day, even as part of the job that I have, I am always looking for opportunities to do things that are, let's say, in addition to my actual work that I need to deliver to my manager, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Christian. Those were great examples. And I love how Andrea is like this when you say going out of your comfort zone. And so, Andrea, I would like for you to elaborate on that in our next question. And of course, please share also your experiences getting out of your comfort zone. What are some of the opportunities students have in terms of internships or practical training while studying in the United States?
Okay, I think I will divide this answer in two. I think that for the first question about what I did when I was in my bachelor's and which experience I had, I think that similar to Christian, I did many things outside of the classroom at the university. I think that I participate in internships during that time. I made an internship in the Supreme Court of Arizona that actually allowed me to came here later on. I made papers. So it's very important that if you want to come here and do a master's or a PhD, you know how to make a research and how to make a good paper, because it's something that you are definitely going to do here in the university. So I think that for me, doing papers and be able to present them in other countries gave me the confidence of giving presentations and actually express what my ideas with a large number of people from different countries. So I think that was great. I think that it's true. I think that depending on the thing that you want to study, I think that you should develop your abilities and participate in every type of event or every type of activity that university has, and not only in your university, but in general, so you can develop more your abilities. I think that it's like doing exercise. I think that more you run, you are more able to win the race. And I think that it's always like that when you're studying as well. If you want to have a master's in the US, it's not impossible. You only need to train to be able to do so. And the other answer about the opportunities that the US has, I think that there are many opportunities. I think that the United States is one of the best countries to do your master's, because you have the opportunity to work as a student worker while you are doing your master's, to gain more experience. And also you have the opportunity to do something called OPT, training. That allows you to work 1 year after you finish your master's studies or your PhD studies in the US in order to develop your abilities more and all the knowledge that you got during the master's program. And I think that that's great. There are many scholarships and probably you will know better after you apply to your programs that the universities offer many types of helps. And I think that one of the biggest fears for students is that it's very expensive to do a master degree in the US in general. It doesn't matter the school, it is always expensive. But I think that's something that I learned in Education USA with the mentors and just in general, is that if you get in, you are going to find a way to come. If you get accepted, I think that getting accepted is the hardest part. But as soon as you get accepted, you will find many opportunities, internships, as I said, the student jobs, and you will be able to pay later on. And I think that that's great about the student here. And I'm sorry, I have to leave very soon because I have a meeting at the university, but please, if you have any questions, you can reach me through my email. I will just write it on the chat right now, and I will be happy to give advice to anybody of answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Andrea had a last minute meeting that she had to run to, but thank you so much for your time and for being this evening with us. We'll continue the conversation with Christian for the last 5 minutes that we have. And then we have a couple of questions from the audience, Christian, that if you are okay addressing while Andrea had to go. Andrea, thank you so much for being here, for joining this professional roundtable. And we are very proud of everything that you have done. Thank you
So much. Thank you so much. Andrea. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions, just let me know. I will be in touch. Bye-bye.
And now continuing with the conversation, Christian and Andrea was just sharing about OPT or internships or any of those. Do you have any of these experiences while you were in the United States? And can you share a little bit about those?
Yes, I actually, so after I finished my PhD, I started working for the company, for Genentech, where I currently work, through an OPT. So I will say that was the next step. Is like once you finish like any program, I think it's even an undergrad program, if you can probably correct me if I am wrong, but if you finish any program in the US, then you have the opportunity to do what is called an optional practical training, or OPT, which means that you can work for 1 year. Basically, anyway, you can get a permit so you can work in the United States. It is for 1 year, and then in my field, which is the STEM field, I think it's science, technology, engineering, and I don't remember the M, mathematics, I think. The STEM areas, they have the opportunity to extend that OPT to 2 more years. So in total, you have 3 years of working as a STEM OPT, which is great. And then and after that, you will need like some kind of work visa or something like that to continue working for that. But that gives you like a lot of opportunities for practicing what you studied, which is great. And as I said, you only need to let's say do a program in the United States to be able to do that. Yep.
Thank you very much, Christian. And our last question goes regarding advice, future advice. What would be your best advice for candidates looking for programs in innovation or entrepreneurship in the United States?
Okay. I don't know. I am the best person to talk about programs specific in innovation or entrepreneurship. I will say in general, if you want to apply to programs in the United States, I will say don't underestimate you. I think that's my best advice. And when I say that, it's because, and that happened, slightly happened to me at some point, and nothing bad, but it's definitely something you think. When you're thinking on applying to a program in the United States or everywhere, you look at the, like, let's say some of the skills that maybe you need to have for starting the program. And sometimes even before applying, you believe that you don't have the profile so they can take you in. So you start doubting about yourself. It's like kind of the imposter syndrome, right? Like you haven't even tried and you're already saying, yeah, you don't have the value to do it, or you don't have the skills to do it. So I would say, don't undermine yourself. If there is a program and you're interested on it and you believe you have the skills, or even you believe you can gain the skills, go ahead and apply. In addition to that, also, depending on where you are applying, I think another good advice that I can provide, and this is probably more practical, is depending on where you're applying, I think for most of the cases, most of the universities, they receive so many candidates that the papers you submit, so they usually ask for a CV or a recommendation letter, or what's the other, they ask for this other letter, what's the name, Jenny? Can you
like
you
personal statements, or
the personal statement? That's
yeah.
the point. So they ask you for a personal statement. Make sure to write it in a way that is going to be short, but also informative enough for the person who is going to be reading that. And the main reason for that is, I mean, not only because it's good in terms of communication, you know, but also because keep in mind that in some cases, like let's say you're applying to Stanford, maybe the people that is going to be reviewing the like all the different applications, they are going to be reviewing hundreds of them. If you prepare like a very great like a personal statement that is 3 pages long, maybe they are not going to read them. So make sure to really like put this in a short, maybe 1 page, I don't know, make it visually attractive. So the person that grabs that 1 page is going to take the best of the things you have done and what you can actually give to the program and take from the program, without like writing like as a contract. Sometimes you have like a contract, you have like a very small size letter in there. It's like, make it attractive visual, and of course make sure the content is important as well. So that is like a silly advice, but again, think that if you have to review, I don't know, like 400 applications, you are not going to read like all of them like completely, just because it's not practically feasible. So I would say those 2 things. And the third advice that I would say is, and that's maybe because it was like a personal advice that I gave to myself, is that it is important. I mean, the language is important. Of course, if you're coming to the US, you need to have some English to defend yourself. But don't think you need to have a perfect English. You only need to have a good enough English so that you can communicate and so you can learn. Don't think that it's gonna like be an obstacle in your way. Of course, you need to have like certain like qualifications, certain grades, let's say in English, because you need to take the TOEFL and things like that. But other than that, it's not like you need to have a perfect English. You will have time to eventually learn it better. And of course, if you, as it is my case, are not like someone that was born or grew up in the US, you're not probably going to talk like or speak English perfectly. But as long as it is good enough and it allows you to communicate with others in the things you need to communicate, I think that's good enough.
I just would like to add, because all the things that you have mentioned kind of relies on something I always mention to my advisees, which is take care of the things that are under your control, right? And you mentioned something about like, I'm gonna paraphrase but everything might be a challenge, right? I mean, either if you decided to remain in Mexico, in Costa Rica, in El Salvador, wherever you are, or if you decided to go to the US, I mean, either decision will be a challenge for you, right? So thank you very much for that, Christian. Jenny.
Well, that was the last question on our behalf, Christian. I'm gonna choose one from the audience in the meaning of time. And I think this is pretty interesting. What has been the biggest challenge working for a company in Silicon Valley?
The biggest challenge? Okay, there are so many. We're gonna spend like 30 minutes here. Well, I'm gonna talk about my personal experience. So my personal experience, and that was the biggest challenge, is the program I did. It was, I mean, like the title of the program was a PhD in statistics, so only statistics. And as we mentioned before, I work as a biostatistician. So there is the word bio before statistician. And to be honest, the only courses I kind of remember that I took from biology were when I was in middle school. And to be honest, it was not my favorite subject. Biology was not my favorite subject. So when I joined the company, well, of course, there is an expectation that you have a sense of the bio part. So that was a challenge in the sense that I needed to catch up on those topics. It's not that they are expecting you to be an expert on biology. I mean, there are like very, very smart people in the company that they are definitely the experts on biology. I am not, even to these days. But I have enough knowledge now so that I can actually understand, let's say, the basic concepts that I need to know so that I can answer the question that I ask as a biostatistician. So it was a challenge because as I was starting, you know, I am onboarding in the company. Like, it's a big company. So I am trying to learn everything in there. I'm trying to learn about the teams, learning about the people, learning about the projects. And at the same time, I was trying to learn about biology. So it was like an additional thing that required me some time. And it was a challenge at first. I would say something that really helped on that. I don't want to say it's only because I like studying or things like that. No. It was also because I have very great colleagues who were humble enough to give me like a lot of detail on all of those questions that I didn't know. So I needed to ask or to recognize that I don't know. Can you please explain that to me? And they were also humble enough to explain that to me. Even I even remember there was this one occasion where I had a question about a specific process. It's called a purification process. I don't want to go into the detail, right? But the point is that I wanted to learn about that process. So my manager told me, you can ask this specific person because he's an expert and he's been like working on that for so many years. So I went to see this person, and this person was like, you know, instead of explaining that to you, why don't I take you to a tour to the lab so you can actually see the equipment we use to do the purification. I can show you every step. So that was like amazing. It's like I even remember I was like wearing like this like for COVID, you know, like during the first month of COVID, you can see like people wearing all of these like white suit. So I was wearing that. I entered the lab and they were showing me like all the equipment, and it was like very, very great. So I think it's like I found my way, but it was definitely a challenge because, as I said, the bio part was not in what I studied.
Thank you so much for sharing, Christian. And I think something I appreciate is that with the example that you are sharing, is that you're still learning, right? Like you're already working there in the Silicon Valley area, but you're still learning from your colleagues, from the things that you do. And I think that that's a great takeaway of this session, that in order to innovate, we have to be open to continue learning what we are doing. And well, with that, and I got a last question on the chat, and I think it's important, and I appreciate that question because they wanna check this film again. And so just as a reminder, it's gonna be on our YouTube channel. So if you miss the first part, the middle, or the end of this, you can always go back to our YouTube channel. We are also live on Facebook. So thank you all those who are following us on Facebook and watching this session. It's gonna be on our channel. Please go back and review. We have had great experiences for Andrea, who had to go, but from Christian as well. So please join and you can watch it whenever you want. Jorge, do you want anything else to add before we end the session?
No. I just want to thank Christian for his experience here, his time, and his willingness to be here with us. Thank you very much, Christian. And well, unfortunately, Andrea has to leave, but yeah, thank you a lot, Christian.
No, thank you, Jorge, Jenny, and Annie. It was a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you, Christian. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.